And Darcy has joined us during the ad break, and she's come in the door with a pineapple in her hand. And
I have.
And I'm intrigued. Why have you brought a pineapple for today's segment on nutrition?
Well, I'm going to talk about children's health. And I know I talk about adults' health and children's health, and what is a child but a mini adult? They are going to grow into us. We were once children, and we all have the similar digestive system. And if it's working well, and I've spoken about it often enough that I wanted to just do a little bit of a demo or what is easy to do at home, because people who are listening today are listening to complaints from children during the summer holidays. It's more obvious to people because they're at home on the holidays and people are at home with them, and they're seeing if there's a tummy ache, if there's phlegm in the throat, these type of things, if there's any sicknesses, people who are getting allergies. And, if Hippocrates said all diseases begin in the gut, and we are what we eat, and food is your medicine, does it not benefit you then to know and to ask the question, what am I eating? What is it doing for me? Is it building me into that good, strong person with great health? Or is it hindering me in developing into that good, strong person with great health? It's either going to be a benefit or not. And I'm wanting to show people and talk to people really about how do you get the digestion improved? How do you recognise that it's not right? A picky eater, this child who is eating off the tip of the spoon and you're trying to feed them, like even from a very young child, or they're the picky eater that they're only going to eat very selected foods. They're eating just mince or sausage or nuggets. And, when a child's digestion is really strong, they can eat steak and beef and all the different heavy meats. And when their digestion is poor, they're not making enough hydrochloric acid. They're not making enough digestive enzymes. They are choosing not to eat those heavier foods, I suppose. They're eating already broken up foods that were pushed back together. So they're on a spaghetti bolognese or they'll eat a shepherd's pie, which is good food, but don't get me wrong. But it often gives you an indication that they are selecting foods because they can't digest it properly. So today I wanted to talk on digestive enzymes and what can people do at home that you can help that child digest or help yourself digest better than what you were doing before. Yeah.
And of course the summer holidays is a great opportunity to get your kids' diet a little bit better, because you're not rushing to as many things during the summer, or picking them up from school or firing things into a lunchbox. So would it be a good time of year to get them to try new foods maybe?
It is. And people will eat what they can tolerate. I often say it's, when a child is refusing something, why are they refusing that? So if there's something that we don't like the taste of, that's one thing. But I do tend to see children coming through in this age group, and I'm talking like the last 20 or 30 years, people who are not digesting as well as what we were. There was one meal cooked in our house. That was it, one meal. Now I'm seeing houses that there's 2, 3 and 4 meals cooked for different children, because they won't eat that. So parents have had to really readjust their way of cooking to feed the different children. And I feel it's always, is it a picky child? But I don't feel that. I actually think it's more that child knows they can't digest that food.
Or is it the children, though? I think that maybe we don't do enough to get them, not force them, but to encourage them to try different tastes, because they see something and they think, oh God, I wouldn't like that. Do you know what I mean?
And that's true. And now a breastfed baby is getting the milk from a mother who is eating everything, so their taste buds have adapted. And yet a baby who's bottle fed, for example, is just fed the same taste of formula all the time. So we're not really cultivating a change in taste buds. And then if they go on to, baby food, it all has the similar taste. And if you're eating real food, like I know my sister used to be bringing avocados with a knife, mashing it up and spoon feeding avocado as if it was a tub of ice cream. And they will now eat a very wide variety of food. So their taste buds were trained early. But, I think in part we should really be encouraging them to eat more. And sometimes they will eat what we eat, and sometimes we've become more selective. But I think we see a lot more antibiotic use in children that are getting ear infections or sore throats. In my day, there wasn't the antibiotics, and then they became more used, I suppose, and then we flavoured them with strawberry and banana to give them to the small children, whereas antibiotics were meant to be brought in as a kind of, not a last resort, but, if you couldn't solve the problem. And I think people got into the habit of having more antibiotics.
And then they built up a resistance to them, and they didn't do their job when they were really needed.
Yeah. And in addition, they disturbed the gut bacteria. The gut bacteria are involved in producing B vitamins. The B vitamins give you energy. The gut bacteria make the brain chemicals. Serotonin is important for appetite. A poor appetite child and a grumpy child may not have enough serotonin produced in the gut. So even though the antibiotics are needed at certain times, we also disturbed the gut bacteria. So if you see mouth ulcers in a child, you have to think that gut isn't healthy and they're not producing the B vitamins. We should give them some B vitamins, but we should also give them some probiotics.
And does the same go, you say in mouth ulcers, that's like sores inside the mouth. Does the same go for cold sores and that?
And cold sores is a herpes virus. And that's you are producing a virus that some people will only get that virus when they're run down. But then who is run down? When you see that pale, pasty child and their, shadows under the eyes, and, that would say that's a poor eater and they're not thriving as well. They're not maybe even growing as well as they should. They have low energy. You have to say, well, what's going on in the gut? And they could also be grumpy, or picky, So,
yeah.
But when you look at that and you say, well, what is the child eating and what are they absorbing? And, what can I do to help them digest that food better? Can I put in probiotics? Can I put in fibre? Like I'm here now and I have an apple in front of you, but if I stewed that apple, it gives you pectin, and pectin heals the lining of the gut and it feeds the good bacteria. Now, when we were children, Deirdre, stewed apple, stewed rhubarb was common, wasn't it? It was stewed apple and custard. It was stewed apple more than anything, and then it was rhubarb when it was in season, but you nearly always had apples.
Oh, rhubarb and custard is amazing.
Yes. But it was a common dessert for us, and it wasn't even considered a dessert as such. It was part of the food source. But stewed apple that gives you pectin heals the lining of a gut. So if the gut is disturbed, taking stewed apple, and if you take that with custard, what is custard? Milk and corn flour with some yellow colouring in it, and you're putting a bit of sugar, and if that child is able to handle all that, then stewed apple and custard can be a great way of healing a gut.
So the apple on its own won't do that, it has to be stewed, does it?
And an apple a day keeps the doctor away, I know, but the stewed apple releases the pectin. So when you get that, that kind of almost sludgy, that stewed apple, where it's after breaking down, that's releasing the pectin. So giving stewed apple will have a different healing than what you will get from just eating the apple.
And that's good for their gut.
It's good for the gut.
So how would you stew it?
I just chop it up with the skin, actually. I buy organic apples if I can, and then I'll chop it with the skin and I'll cook it with the skin. I buy sweet apples for stewing apples because then you don't need to add sugar. You just have the natural sugar. And that's about all I do. Into boiling water, into cold water, and I boil it and I leave it on until it's soft and soggy, and then you have stewed apple. Meanwhile, I make up the custard, and they can have that with custard or with cream, or, I know everybody's going to say ice cream. It depends on how you react to ice cream. If you have a child who's clearing their throat, they're producing phlegm, they're producing mucus. If you're not digesting and tolerating milk, you can produce phlegm in your throat, mucus in your nose, mucus or thickening of the liquid in your ears and give you a glue ear. So for that child, I would say, can we make that custard with rice milk, coconut milk, oat milk? Like there's a lot of plant-based milks rather than dairy milk.
Is custard not full of sugar though, Anne?
Custard has no sugar unless you add sugar. So if you're concerned about the sugar, I buy xylitol, which is a sugar. It's more expensive. You won't use as much of it. It will sweeten like sugar, behaves like sugar, and it will, you can put that in your custard if you want. And now what you're giving a child for custard is you're using corn flour, not wheat flour, with the plant milk, which could be oat milk, and xylitol. Now, it's not a sweet sugar. It's not a sweet sugar gone into the custard, and it's not a dairy custard. So, but I like my bird's custard. Did we all grow up with bird's custard?
I love it. Absolutely.
I have the powdered tub of bird's custard at home, and then I can adapt it. If somebody can have dairy, I'll make it with milk. If somebody can't have dairy, I'll make it with almond milk or coconut milk.
You mentioned rhubarb there, and that's something I haven't eaten in a long time. Is rhubarb good for you? Rhubarb
is very, very good. You know what? It is sour, so you'll find a lot of people put a lot of sugar. But it is good for you. It's a great laxative. I'm a herbalist as well, and we have Rheum palmatum is the name for rhubarb, and it is out there as a herb, and it's used as a laxative in the same way that senna and cascara. It stimulates a lazy bowel. Pears can also stimulate a bowel. So if you were to do stewed pears for constipation, it can help. So when I'm saying stewed apple, stewed pear, if you had a child who was constipated, it's going to heal the gut. But by adding pears or rhubarb, it can help a gut to get moving.
Okay, so we've got some great tips there now. Stewed apple for healing the gut, rhubarb or pear for a constipated child. But come back to the pineapple. So, first of all, pineapples on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
I'm a definite pineapple and pizza person. It's a big debate, isn't it?
And do you do pineapple with your ham? Because ham and pineapple was just a well-known mix, wasn't it?
Yeah, they call it Hawaiian.
Hawaiian pizza. Well, when you look at pineapple, the bromelain, it contains bromelain. And if you look at any enzyme bottle, you will generally see a digestive enzyme capsule will contain bromelain. And bromelain comes out of pineapple. So if you have pineapple, and I have one here just to show you, I cut it open, but it's a yellow pineapple. People will eat it. I have people that will dip it in dark chocolate melted and put it in the fridge, because dark chocolate is full of polyphenols. And if you were to cut this into slices, dip it into chocolate, and you had a child eat it, it's got good digestive enzymes. The digestive enzymes in this, the bromelain, will help you to digest the food. If you're eating and you're not digesting well, you will ferment that food, you will turn it into wind, you are just producing your own wind. Your belly gets bloated, and a child who bloats, or adult who bloats quickly, can only eat so much because the brain says you're full already. If you're full, you can't eat more. But then they're hungry half an hour later because they didn't eat enough. But it's because they produced wind, the belly blew up, the brain said I'm full, stop eating. So I say take an enzyme, whether you buy a capsule, which is, like I have a little capsule here, and you can open it and mix it in with food. But if you mix this capsule in with food, it will dissolve it really quickly and it'll turn to almost slop in the bowl. That job should be done in the stomach. So if I was opening a capsule for a small child, I would say put it in the first spoon, have them swallow that enzyme, and then let them eat, because then the enzyme will do its job. But the pineapple contains bromelain, and then you have kiwi fruit. And kiwi fruit, actually I'm here cutting this for you now, Deirdre, as well, but a kiwi fruit also has enzymes. And a lot of people will eat kiwi, just naturally eat kiwi as a fruit. But the kiwi fruit contains enzymes, but when do you want to take the enzymes? You want it at the beginning of the meal or with the meal, not really as a snack in between. You want it at the time you're eating. In the same way that you put washing up liquid into the sink when all the dishes are going in, you want to put the enzyme in when the food is going in to help you digest. If you're still bloated, then you need more, or you need a capsule.
So if you have a child, we'll say, who can't stomach pineapple, doesn't like the taste of it, try them with kiwi.
Yes, and the other one is papaya. Now, if people have gone away on holidays, they've eaten papaya in breakfast bars all over the world. Papaya is very common in other countries. We don't see it here that often, but the fruit markets can usually order papaya. It is available in Dublin just for us to get it down. It's probably more seasonal, but I would say pineapple or kiwi or papaya. Now, what I also have here is I have a lemon. Lemon juice. Can you picture the bitterness of a lemon? And you think about the lemon, your mouth waters when you start thinking about the lemon and the taste of lemon juice. Lemon will stimulate your own digestion. It stimulates your digestive juices. Anything bitter is going to stimulate your own digestive juices. So whether you use lemon, that you just squeeze some lemon into a glass, and once you nearly squelch up your face with the bitterness of it, that's enough to stimulate your digestive juices. And with apple cider vinegar, I buy the cloudy one, and they say it's so long as it has the mother. The mother is that cloudy stuff at the end, because it is a fermented food.
The mother?
The mother. It's called the mother.
It's a strange term.
Mother, I know. So I'm just going pouring that there now. Will I give you a little taste?
You can.
And so...
Okay. I'll try not to break. I have broken glass already this week in studio, so I'll try not to.
If I was to watch your face now, you'll turn around and think that is extremely bitter. Yeah, that's the squelchy face I'm talking about.
Oh, so, God, that is horrible.
Yes. Now,
I'll have another bit of it.
But it will turn on your stomach and it'll help you to digest food because it's stimulating your digestive enzymes. And if you had lemon juice in water, or if you have apple cider vinegar in water, they are both going to help digest your food. Now, how can you make this more palatable? If you were to take that apple cider vinegar and put it in with some honey, just enough to make it more palatable, but without, and put it maybe with a bit of warm water, and you have it just enough that there's a bit of bitterness, a child can take that. I often find it's easier to sneak a capsule into the first spoon and get it into a child, and then afterwards when their digestion improves they can take some of the other foods, especially the very picky children. Sometimes you kind of have to sneak in a little bit of the powdered enzymes or the powdered probiotics, you know.
And it's best to take it before a meal.
Before a meal, but I don't even wait long before a meal. I just put it in almost as you're taking the first mouthful, and then it's in there to digest that food.
And it just helps everything work properly through the gut.
And so if you have your stomach not producing enough enzymes, the bitterness of lemon and apple cider vinegar can stimulate your own digestive juices. Even if you take this bitter stuff, and it doesn't stimulate enough, then you benefit from taking the digestive enzymes. So whether or not you choose to do kiwi or pineapple or papaya that you can order and get the fruit shop to get, they will get papaya in for you at times. Then it's of benefit to get you have to say, you can take enzymes or you can take something to stimulate your enzymes. What works for each individual person is just so individual, you have no idea. Because you don't know whether this child has had 10 antibiotics, 20 antibiotics, whether they come from a family that are very allergic to certain foods, so that as soon as they have dairy or ice cream, they're getting mucousy, they're getting more infections, and then they're getting the antibiotics. It's this catch-22. But if you can start with saying, I want to get you eating better, how can I do that? Let me get the enzymes in. And then maybe put in some probiotics. Like I have a card here of probiotics. And, you know, again, they come in a capsule. So if you have, sure, all capsules really look the same. It's like what's coming out of any container that I have here. But a capsule can be opened and put into maybe some yogurt. Now, people would say, but the yogurt has probiotics. Good quality yogurt contains probiotics. But we use different ones for different things. So when I have a very high allergy child, a lot of histamine, itchy nose, itchy eyes, hay fever, even asthma, you know, any of these where there's a lot of histamine, I tend to use a particular probiotic, a Lactobacillus rhamnosus. But then there's bifidobacteria, and there's a lot of different names of bacteria. Why? Because there's so many different strains. And we don't know how many we even have yet. We're learning new things all the time. So when I look at probiotics, I'm looking at the child with whatever they're suffering with, and then go working on the individual.
A couple of questions for you, Anne, and we'll try and get through as many as we can, but we don't have a lot of time left. One person says the best thing for tummy issues in children is Kerry kefir. A capful in the morning, and it won't be long before the issue disappears. Kerry kefir.
So kefir is a probiotic culture. I have water kefir at home, and this Kerry kefir, I would say, is more than likely a milk kefir, very possibly with Kerry cows. Your Murphy's ice cream is Kerry cows. There's an A2 gene in the Kerry cow that makes it much easier to digest than the A1 milk that we're used to. So I'll have kids who can't tolerate dairy, can tolerate Kerry ice cream, and I'd say the Kerry kefir is going to be a similar product. But it's a culture, it's been made here, and it's good for the gut. It's recolonizing the gut with the good bacteria. And if you consider serotonin, the happy mood chemical, and GABA, the calming chemical, is made by the gut bacteria, if you can regrow the gut bacteria that produces those chemicals, you're going to have a happier, calmer child.
Now, a listener says they're wondering about apple cider vinegar. This person says, I suffer from acid reflux. I've tried it, but it aggravated more. And I also seem to get migraine from pineapple, so I'm unsure what to do about my acid reflux.
I would say that you have a rawness in your gut that the apple cider vinegar bothered. It's like if I poured that vinegar on a cut. Taking it into a raw, inflamed stomach is not going to suit you. In that case, I start with slippery elm powder, mix it in water. It's like wallpaper paste. You swallow it down and it coats and soothes the lining as it goes down. And then eat your food after that. Do that for a week or two. And then I start with an enzyme generally that doesn't have any hydrochloric acid in it, just a basic enzyme. If the pineapple is bothering you, you don't go with pineapple. Papaya is much less acidic because even the kiwi is somewhat acidic. But papaya has no acidity. So try and get your hands. Sometimes different shops, the shops, there's certain shops around that will sell papaya if you can get your hands on it and try that. It won't cause the same stinging.
Okay, just one more question, Anne, because we're almost out of time. But quite a few people have been saying about rhubarb. But one person said, I heard it was bad if you have arthritis, and somebody else said, I heard it's bad if you have gout.
And here's the thing, not everybody has every condition, so you have to look at the individual person. And when somebody has arthritis, we need to boost your digestive system to help you handle foods that you're eating in general, because people who can't handle protein foods can produce arthritis. So we're always trying to help your digestion with digestive enzymes first and foremost. Some people with arthritis react badly to rhubarb, that is true, and some people react badly to potatoes and tomatoes, the nightshade vegetables, some people to salicylates, which is high in strawberries. So the reason people react badly to those foods is because their stomach digestion is not digesting those foods. If we could increase your digestion, you'd be able to handle those foods down the line. But initially, if you eat rhubarb and you get stiff and sore, or if you eat potatoes and you're stiff and sore, avoid those foods, fix the stomach, the gut, take in something that's going to help you, like a digestive enzyme probiotic. And then I often go looking at what other herbs, like devil's claw is a herb for arthritis that works really well. Turmeric as a spice works really well for arthritis. So you're always looking at, why am I inflamed and how can I reduce the inflammation? And it really doesn't matter to me. When I see people, I'm seeing, well, what have you got? What are your set of symptoms rather than your diagnosis?
Okay.
If your gut's not right, I work on the gut. If it's stomach, I work on the stomach. But if you're getting headaches from something like the person with pineapple, why are you getting headaches from that? And what can I do? Can I help your stomach so that maybe you can tolerate it? But you might have developed an intolerance to pineapple along the way because you're not digesting protein foods.
Okay, so it all goes back to the gut. And we've got to finish up, unfortunately. But thank you for coming in. And remind people you're here today at the All Therapy Clinic on Rock Street.
Yeah, that's it, All Therapy Centre. And my number is 087 775 9385.
If anyone wants to call and make an appointment. And you're in Kerry about twice a month, isn't it?
I'm in Kerry every Thursday.
Every Thursday. Oh, very good.
For about the last 14 years, I think.
I should know that. I should know that.
But I am from Tipperary and I travel up and down.
You travel down. So Thursday is the day to get you. And that's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming in.